Eren Yeager wakes up from a nightmare with tears falling from his eyes. His friend Mikasa doesn't ask too many questions, and they return to the city where Eren gets into an argument with the guards of the garrison regiment who are loafing around. They are of the opinion that high walls of the city would keep the alien-like creatures that have come to roam the land out, and that there would not be any need for security. Despite his young age, Eren doesn't agree with them and wishes to end the threat from the beasts once and for all. At this point, the scout regiment, the squad that ventures outside the walls to exterminate these titans, returns, but much to everyone's horror, only a handful of soldiers have managed to survive. Most of them injured, they reveal that they have still not made any progress in dealing with the monsters. Eren, who idolizes the warriors, refuses to listen to anyone criticizing them. His mother is terrified when Mikasa tells her that he wishes to join Scout Regiment, but his father encourages his curiosity. Heading out, the duo meet up with their third ally, Armin, being bullied by some kids. But seeing the ferocious Mikasa backing them up, the bullies run away in fear. Now, as the trio sits and talks about their respective dreams and goals, a huge tremor is heard coming from outside the wall. Looking up, despair sets in everyone's eyes as they witness a titan the size of which was never witnessed before. This creature rose so tall that he peaked above the great walls themselves, gazing at the small humans that hid inside. The being, known as a colossal titan, swings his massive leg to break through the giant wall, and this lets in a whole army of titans. Soon, the entire city is overrun with them and no one is safe. The scout officer from before manages to rescue Eren and Mikasa, but Eren watches as his mother is eaten right in front of his eyes. Centuries ago, the Titans appeared on the face of the earth with a taste for human blood. They nearly drove humanity to extinction until the three walls of Maria, Rose, and Sina were constructed. These kept the monstrous creatures out, and the remainder of the civilization were able to live in peace for almost 100 years. That is, until they managed to break down this seemingly impregnable outer wall. With the city of Shiganshina being overrun by the humanoid beasts, everyone tries to flee for their lives. Even the garrison regiment is unable to be of any use against the indestructible titans. Gore and bloodshed has become the norm as the beings feed on the townspeople. As there is only one exit gate, everyone storms through it in an attempt to board the two ships leaving the city. However, due to the limited space, a huge number of citizens are left behind. Fortunately, Eren, Mikasa, and their friend Armin boarded just in time. Just as the gate is being shut, an armored titan charges at it with full speed and manages to break through, leaving a huge hole for the rest of its kind to walk through. The first line of defense for the humans has been breached. The refugees on the boat manage to reach a safe point where they are provided with food and shelter. However, since the Titans had attacked other cities as well, the number of refugees had increased and some were sent out with the excuse of regaining control. Very few returned. Meanwhile, Eren, filled with his unrelenting rage against the Titans, swears to join the scout regiment and exterminate them once and for all. As the years pass, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin have grown older but have not lost their determination. They join the garrison cadets. The drill sergeant is a loud and tough officer who questions each of the cadets extensively. He mocks some of the applicants while scolding most of them. One of the female cadets has the nerve to eat a boiled potato during the questioning. She is made to run around the yard for several hours until she is on the verge of death. The aim is to discipline them so they could be molded into the perfect soldiers to combat the Titans. Eren and Mikasa are not confronted since they are some of the few who have witnessed the traumatic actions of the Titans firsthand. During mess, Eren is questioned by the other cadets about the Titans, which takes him back to the day his mother was eaten. However, he does not show any weakness and firmly announces that his aim is to join the garrison regiment and end the Titans once and for all. The next day, the first test for the cadets is to test their ODM gear and how apt they are with using the equipment. Although Mikasa is a natural, Eren falls flat on his face multiple times. He is ridiculed by the other applicants for his failure, but he doesn't give up and takes advice from Rainer Brown, another cadet. His next attempt has to be flawless, otherwise he would be kicked out of the group. Although he fails again the second time, the drill sergeant realizes that his equipment is broken, which is why he keeps messing up. Once that is fixed, Eren manages to pass effortlessly, much to everyone's satisfaction. Once the Titans managed to breach Wall Maria, the humans abandoned it and sought asylum behind Wall Rose, which is the second of 3 walls. Meanwhile, as carnage reigns outside, the cadets continue their training. Armin refuses to be left behind and improves himself. Rainer, who is greatly respected by his comrades, aids those around him while also excelling at his own tasks. Mikasa is a natural prodigy, and Eren tries to do what she does, albeit with a lot more effort and will. His determination is unparalleled as he focuses his mind and body on every assignment until he is successful. Years have passed and the cadets have reached their graduation. Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are selected in the top 10 and have the choice of working in the interior for the military police. There, they would be safe from the threat of the Titans and live a life of luxury. However, Eren refuses to do so and opts for the Garrison Regiment, which deals with the Titans head-on. After an emotional speech, many of his comrades also follow suit and join the regiment. Just as the situation has begun to settle down, the colossal Titan makes another appearance, breaking a hole through the wall of the city. However, this time Eren has the skills and training to combat the creature. Using his Omni ability gear, Eren manages to fly circles around the Titan. However, the creature is intelligent, and its first act is to destroy the cannons on the city wall. Realizing that their initial defenses are now down, Eren attempts to slay the Titan with his own hands. However, just as he is about to stab it through the neck, it suddenly disappears. The rest of the minor Titans have begun to walk towards the city gates as they sense another huge meal. However, the graduated cadets join forces with the senior officers to deal with their threat. One group is in charge of evacuating the civilians, others battle the Titans while a portion of them attempt to seal the gate. Back in the interior city, the king panics when he hears news about the Wall of Rosa being on the brink of collapse too. He tries to convince the head of the officers, Pixis, to stay there and protect him, but he does not heed his complaints and rushes to his force's aid. Back on the battlefield, the new cadets realize how difficult it is to defeat the monstrous creatures as a few of them are eaten within minutes. Eren loses a leg and then sacrifices himself when attempting to save Armin. When Armin regains consciousness, he is horrified to find himself alone and no sight of the rest of the group. The rescue team dismisses him with the words that he is useless and that it's a shame that Eren and his comrades had to be the ones that got eaten. As Armin wanders the town aimlessly, he sees corpse after corpse and people attempting to miraculously revive their loved ones. Eyes filled with fear and shame, he is only able to watch. Back in the main city, Mikasa proves her ability in battle as she slays Titan after Titan. Stopping for a breather, she has a momentary flashback where she remembers how her parents were murdered and that a young Eren was the one who had rescued her. It was his family that had adopted her and given her a home to live in. With renewed focus and determination, she then returns to the battleground to save the place she now calls home. As the Titans swarm the city, even the soldiers have begun to lose hope. The civilians have managed to evacuate safely, but the cadets are left behind. The gas cylinders that allow them to possess Omni ability are provided by the gas squad, but after seeing the high death toll, they lose their nerve and barricade themselves in the headquarters. Now, the soldiers are left without gas or a plan on how to move forward. This is where Mikasa takes the initiative. After hearing that Eren was killed, she refuses to focus on her emotions and instead adopts her best friend's attitude. Calling out each of her comrades to their cowardice, she motivates them enough to follow her lead. However, on the way to the headquarters where the gas is stored, Mikasa's own cylinder of gas runs out and she falls down from a height. Fortunately, she survives, realizing that her swords have also broken. She finally decides to give up as a Titan approaches her. Although she is ready for death, the words of Eren breathe new life into her and she uses her blunt sword to thwart the Titan's attack. Suddenly, another Titan appears and strangely enough, it kills the other one, thus saving Mikasa. By now, the rest of the group arrives to support her. However, the Titan barely acknowledges them and walks away. Armin then takes off his own cylinder and hands it to Mikasa so that she is able to reach the headquarters and put an end to this mayhem. Mikasa refuses to leave Armin behind and suggests that she would carry him along. This is when the blonde-haired warrior has the brilliant plan of using the abnormal Titan to their advantage. Since it seems to be killing the rest of its kind, Armin proposes that they lead the Titan to the headquarters where it would deal with the swarming creatures by itself. Despite the high risk, the plan receives Mikasa's backing and they put it into operation. Meanwhile, the other scouting team, which is led by a cadet from Eren's group, are dismayed after watching most of their comrades get eaten. However, the cadet manages to encourage them for one final push and they reach the headquarters where the supply team has taken refuge. Just when it seems that the Titans will overtake the building, Mikasa and Armin arrive with the abnormal Titan who keeps the rest of his kind busy, while the soldiers try to complete their mission. Through a well-crafted plan by Armin, the cadets manage to retrieve the gas supply from the basement, where they also slay a number of Titans. As they exit the building and head for the wall, Mikasa catches sight of the abnormal Titan. Despite its strength, it seems to have reached its limit as the other Titans have begun to cannibalize it. With its last bit of energy, it takes out the few creatures that remain and then falls to the ground lifeless. The back of its neck opens up to reveal an unconscious Eren Yeager. To everyone's shock, not only is he alive, but his arm and leg have seemed to have regenerated as well. One of the reasons there were so many casualties during the invasion of the Titans was because the absence of the elite Survey Corps, a group of highly skilled warriors who slay the creatures with ease. They're led by their captain, Levi. Not only is his ability unparalleled, but his loyalty to his comrades is also commendable. While Titans were wreaking havoc in town, Levi and his troop were undergoing an operation outside of the city. Soon as they sensed that the Titans seemed to be swarming towards the city, they abandoned their mission and return home as well. Back in the city, Eren has managed to regain consciousness. He wakes up to the sight of the cadets pointing swords at him and eyeing him with an untrustworthy gaze. Mikasa and Armin defend him while he attempts to break out of his daze and make sense of the situation. However, the troops refuse to listen to Eren's side of the story and falsely accuse him of mutiny. The head of the troops gives the signal to the cannon operators to aim for the trio and shoot. Eren suddenly gets a flashback of his father injecting him with a serum and advising him to master the power as it would help him survive in this world. Just as the cannonball is about to strike them, Eren bites his hand and instantly switches his torso to that of a skeletal titan, thus saving his friends. When the smoke clears, the skeletal torso of the Titan can be seen in plain view. However, it is simply an empty vessel as Eren breaks out of it and comes out to access the situation. Mikasa and Armin have managed to survive under the skeleton, but all three are out of ideas on how to get out of this mess alive. Seeing Eren's transformation firsthand only further cements the idea in the minds of the troops that the cadet is a traitor. Eren is determined to escape as he wishes to explore his father's basement, where the secrets of his ability will be uncovered. As the strategic one among them, Armin takes the initiative and comes up with a plan. He attempts to convince the troops that Eren's ability will favor humanity and grant them the upper hand against the Titans. Despite his grand speech, the leader of the group is not moved and is about to give the order to their slaughter when suddenly Pyxis, the commander of the officers, intervenes. He appreciates Armin's resolve and decides to take Eren's side. They discuss how, in the form of a Titan, Eren would be able to cover the broken gate with a huge boulder, thus preventing the Titans from invasion. Eren soon warms up to Commander Pyxis and begins to trust his instinct. The elderly officer manages to come up with a plan that would not only save the city of Trost, but also defend Wall Rosa. However, the troops have begun to lose their nerve. While all of them were already on the brink of collapse, news that they might have to return back into the city to attack the Titans finally pushes them over the edge. When one soldier becomes hysterical and loudly refuses to fight, many follow suit and the officers start to lose control. However, from the top of the wall, the loud and commanding voice of Pyxis is enough to silence the commotion. He explains that Titan Eren would carry the boulder to cover the broken gate, while the soldiers were to defend him against the other Titans. Thinking of the safety of their families, the troops finally see reason and regain their composure. Pyxis uses the excuse that Eren is a secret Titan-related government project to avoid panic, but most of the troops are still suspicious of him. However, they are trained to follow orders and manage to help our young protagonist to reach the boulder. Here, he turns into the Titan, but his first action is to smash the area where Mikasa is standing. Eren seems to have lost control of the Titan as it aims blow after blow on Mikasa. She is swift and avoids them, but the plan seems to have failed. The second-in-command signals to Pyxis that a huge problem has arisen, but the commander doesn't ask them to retreat just yet. Although the other soldiers of the elite corps are prepared to leave Eren, after his Titan becomes unconscious, Mikasa refuses to leave her friend's side. Her strong will rubs onto the other officers who understand that Eren's ability is their only chance of survival in the long run. While the rest of the troops attempt to distract the army of Titans who have sensed Eren's weakness, Armin arrives from the wall and attempts to bring Eren out of his daze. While his Titan form is unconscious, Armin climbs onto the back of its neck and keeps screaming for his friend to awaken. Eren is lost in a dream where his mother is still alive and there is peace. However, Armin's constant wailing draws him out of his hallucination and he regains control. Back on the battlefield, one of Aaron's comrades from his cadet days, Gene, gets himself into a difficult situation when his Omni-ability gear malfunctions. Two Titans swarm him and his fate looks sealed until his colleagues rush to his rescue. In a rush, he manages to tear off the gear from a nearby corpse and then rejoins the war against the monstrous beings. Just when it seems the soldiers would get overswarmed by the Titans and suffer a loss once again, the appearance of Titan Aaron carrying the boulder fills the troops with a rejuvenated sense of belief. They all regain formation and clear the path for him to reach the hole where he finally places the huge rock in place. The captains watching cannot help but shed tears that the sacrifice of their men was not in vain, and for the very first time they have managed to gain victory over the Titans. Armin attempts to pull out Aaron's body from the decaying Titan, but two of the creatures suddenly sneak up on him. Captain of the scouts, Levi, comes to their rescue and slays the beings in a single blow. As the situation calms down, the city is cleaned up and the level of casualties estimated. Troops are disheartened to see the lifeless bodies of their comrades, but there is no time for emotions. Aaron wakes up in a dungeon to the sight of Irvin, head of the scouts, and Levi, the captain. They voice their suspicions, but also agree that Aaron's ability is their path to achieving victory against the humanoid beasts. Levi takes responsibility for our protagonist and vows to keep an eye on him. Days pass as Aaron remains in confinement. Such is the fear that the common people have for his ability that his wrists are constantly kept in handcuffs. Meanwhile, outside, the military police is adamant that Aaron is a threat that must be exterminated immediately. The scout regiment wishes to keep him alive. To reach a decision, a deliberation is held, which is headed by the chief premier of all the regiments, Zachary. Mikasa and Armin are summoned as witnesses in the deliberation. Aaron is taken to a courtroom where almost all of the senior officials are seated. Zachary first gives the military police a chance to speak, in which they voice their concern about the rebellions being created among the public due to Aaron's existence. Their opinion is that Aaron's body be thoroughly examined and then executed. Irvin, on the part of the scouts, assures that Aaron will be taken care of with them and made a member of their team. His support would allow the soldiers to retake the Wall of Maria. This results in a back-and-forth argument between the two regiments. This is cut short by Levi, who begins to beat Aaron to a pulp as a demonstration of power and control. The show is in fact successful, and Zachary rules in favor of the scouts. Despite being heavily bruised, Aaron is just happy to get out of captivity and finally fulfilling his lifelong dream of joining the scout regiment. Aaron is assigned to Levi's personal unit, the Special Operations Scout Force. This comprises some of the most skilled personnel who each have a high Titan kill score. They're relocated to the old scout headquarters where Levi will be able to take proper responsibility for Aaron. Their first mission is the simple act of cleaning up. These skilled warriors arm themselves with brooms and brushes, and even Levi partakes in the labor. Aaron is a bit disappointed to find out that he would sleep in the basement once again, but it is a necessary precaution in case he changes into a Titan. Dinner is interrupted by the head forensic, Hanji, who requests our protagonist to accompany her while she would be examining two Titans that they have managed to capture. Aaron makes the mistake of asking her about the experiments she does on the creatures. With eyes alive with pleasure, Hanji explains in great and gruesome detail how she tries to understand them. Tests for food, pain, breathing, etc. are conducted by her to find out all there is to know about these strange creatures. The discussion between the two goes on all night and is only interrupted at daybreak when a soldier rushes in to inform Hanji that her two Titan test subjects have been killed. She is devastated as she had begun to make progress. Unfortunately, the culprit is not caught. Every cadet is searched to check if they were responsible for the killing. However, it seems as if the criminal escaped in thin air. Meanwhile, it is time for the cadets to select their regiment. Gene had always had his heart set on the military police since their main job is in the interior where they would remain safe. Such was his resolve that during their academy days, he and Aaron would come to loggerheads in their arguments between the two regiments. However, as the time for selecting the regiment has come, Gene suddenly changes his mind. After seeing his friends die before his very eyes, he wishes to take charge from the front lines. Along with Mikasa and Armin, he joins a very minor group of cadets who select the scouts. The dangerous nature of the job scares away the other students, which is why Irvin appreciates their bravery. Aaron is delighted to see his friends join his regiment. He is shocked, just like everyone else, at Gene's decision, but the soldier still holds a grudge against our protagonist. It is obvious that he does not completely trust Aaron due to his Titan ability. The new cadets are immediately thrown in the middle of the mission of reclaiming the Wall of Maria. With the whole town applauding them for their courage, the team exits the city into the threatening territory of the Titans. As the scouts gallop into outer wastelands, they are still in the dark as to what awaits them. However, these are some of the most well-skilled warriors humanity has to offer, and they are able to adapt according to changing situations. Irvin lays down a formation that they would have to follow, which allows minimum contact with Titans. The main aim is to identify how many there are and what is the best strategy to counter them. Everything seems to be going according to plan when suddenly an abnormal Titan appears. The soldiers have no choice but to get into combat and slay it. However, the threat is not over as another abnormal appears. From its movements, it is obvious that it has intelligence and seems to be acting the same way as Eren does in Titan form. It rushes towards Armin, but instead of attacking him, it just stares at the boy with an expressionless gaze and then continues running. Jean and Rainer come to Armin's support and reveal that the abnormal Titan has brought a whole army of her kind that has wiped out the right flank. The abnormal, which seems to have a female physique, has begun to slow down, so the trio follows her. However, she notices them and they have no choice but to go for the kill. Such is its speed that it's able to take on all three of them, and the only reason neither of them are killed is because Armin says Eren's name, which immediately draws her attention. She then rushes off in the direction of Eren's unit. Armin, Jean, and Rainer are left with only one horse between them. This would mean almost certain death for at least one of them, as one would have to stay back and wait for reinforcements. Just as Armin volunteers to be the one who stays, Krista, another cadet, comes to their rescue with 2 extra horses. Like water for thirsty travelers, the three cannot help but thank their lucky stars for this miracle. Meanwhile, the female abnormal has wreaked havoc all over the scouts' formation. It seems to be indestructible as it goes through soldier after soldier without suffering a cut. Even Levi is concerned when he gets the news of the casualties. However, Irvin signals for all the troops to continue the mission, albeit on a different route. All the soldiers consider it insanity, but they follow the order and manage to guide the central flank with Eren at the middle into a thick forest. Levi's unit is alone here with no reinforcements, so when the abnormal Titan begins to tail them, the rest of his team members begin to panic. However, Levi does not lose his calm demeanor and asks them to cover their ears as he shoots a shot in the air from a gun. This does nothing to distract the monstrous creature following them, and instead seems to have vexed it even more. Meanwhile, reinforcements have arrived, but the Titan swats them away like tiny flies without giving them much heed. Watching the needless deaths of the soldiers strikes Eren's moral compass, and he pleads to Levi to turn back and help them. However, his pleas fall on deaf ears as Levi continues to lead the group forward. Hating how weak he feels, Eren nears his wrist to his mouth, as biting it would mean he would transform into the Titan. This would allow him to face the abnormal head-on. However, his comrades talk him out of it, and Levi convinces him that he has a plan that they have to follow. Eren gets a flashback of the rest of his unit fearing him when he accidentally switched to Titan form, even though it was just a hand. When the matter is cleared up that it wasn't on purpose, they all apologize him and convince him that he still has their trust. So he, in turn, decides to trust them at this moment. This turns out to be the right call, as just when Levi's team escape the forest, Irvin is waiting with an assortment of ammunition that they unleash on the abnormal. They also trap it with wires so that it has nowhere to go. Levi leaves his group and appears at Irvin's side as the two decide to uncover the mystery of who is controlling the Titan. Cautious, Captain Irvin does not immediately wish to interact with the Titan, but instead first clears out all the ammunition on it so that it is completely beaten down and harmless. It still seems to be protecting the nape of its neck, which indicates that whoever is controlling the being is present there. Meanwhile, the troops guarding the forest begin to discuss the situation among themselves. The plan to capture the abnormal Titan had not been relayed to them and they feel left out. However, Armin concludes that this is because the scouts sense that there is a traitor among them who is a secret Titan. It is probably the traitor who killed the 2 Titans in captivity, and it is them who keep leaking information to the enemies. Levi attempts to cut off the Titan's hand, protecting its neck, but it uses its ability of hardened skin to save itself. Just as Irvin gives the order for the last load of heavy ammunition to be used on the creature, it suddenly lets out an unearthly blow. At the sound, all the Titans rush towards her. Despite the troops' efforts, the creatures cannibalize the abnormal and the person inside gets away. The mysterious individual is wearing the scout's uniform and manages to slay one of the soldiers of the special operations. While the other troops receive orders to retreat, the special operations unit is being tailed by the enemy. The individual seems to be greatly skilled in the omni-ability gear as they continue to fly through the trees, and even the expert abilities of the squad have a problem in dealing with this new threat. To make matters worse, it seems the person can switch to a Titan at will as they suddenly change to the monstrous being. Eren is ordered by the rest of the team to continue towards headquarters while they slay the beast. However, within a matter of minutes, all 4 soldiers are crushed and the abnormal now has its sight on our protagonist. However, the loyal comrade that he is, he refuses to let his friends die in vain, and he immediately bites his wrist and switches to Titan form. Eren gives the abnormal blow after blow as he lets out his anger on the creature. However, the being is also really fast, and recognizing its opportunity, manages to decapitate Eren's Titan. It then rips the young warrior out and swallows him. Mikasa reaches there just as this happens and attempts to save her friend, but Levi stops her with the consolation that they would simply follow her until she tires. As the abnormal begins to slow down, Mikasa and Levi make their move. Even though it's fast, the Titan is unable to defend itself against Levi's swift slashes that cut down the muscles of its limbs. The being falls down and Mikasa is aware that this is a short time frame, after which its wounds will regenerate. She attempts to cut open the nape of its neck, but the creature once again hardens its skin, and the female warrior narrowly avoids getting swatted like a housefly. Although Levi manages to rescue her, he twists his leg in the process. Despite his injury, he uses the last bit of his energy to cut open the creature's mouth and extract the filthy but still alive Eren. They then escape before the situation gets out of hand. Back in the city, families of soldiers are informed that they are returning. The poor souls are not aware that some of their sons and daughters will be returning in body bags. Such is the large number of casualties that a few have to be left behind because the Titans have taken over that area. As they near the wall, the troops are once again chased by a large number of Titans. Levi makes the difficult decision of dumping the bodies they have managed to recover, as it would distract the creatures. The scouts are met by jeers and taunts as they enter the city. All of the citizens are of the opinion that the operations are a waste of tax money and precious lives. Even the government shares this opinion, as Erwin is summoned to the capital, where he is ordered to hand over Eren. Meanwhile, the military police are in full swing back in the safety of the interior. Annie, a cadet of Eren's class, had chosen this regiment, but only one time that she joins it is enough to realize how corrupt the officials actually are. Her seniors care more about alcohol and gambling than assigning them actual tasks. A few of the officers have started selling government-issued equipment to merchants to pocket a few extra coins. Serious and silent, Annie does not say much except witness these actions with a disapproving glare. However, a soldier from her unit, Marlowe, refuses to stand by and watch these illegal actions take place. He is first ridiculed by his seniors, and then when he calls them out for their unethical behavior, he is beaten and threatened by them. Annie does come to his support, but the officers still manage to get away with their crimes. Soon enough, the carriage carrying Eren enters the interior and Annie is stationed on patrol duty. Here she is summoned by Armin, who is hiding in the shadows. Armin pleads with the young officer to help them in breaking Eren out. Although she is hesitant at first, Armin's emotional words change her mind and she agrees to support them. Eren escapes the wagon by the use of a decoy, and the group consisting of our protagonist, Mikasa, and Armin are led by Annie to an underground passage that would lead them to the outskirts of the city. However, Annie refuses to go through it with the excuse that she is scared of small spaces. She has realized that she is cornered by the scouts and attempts to buy time. Armin reveals that he knew that she was the traitor among them due to her suspicious behavior, but wished that it was not true. As the scouts gather around her, she cuts her own finger and transforms into the Titan. Mikasa has already sensed the danger and escapes with her friends through the hole. Several days ago, Erwin was already made aware of the female Titan's real identity, and he had prepared a plan to capture her. However, the initial phase of it fails, as Annie is not apprehended successfully. The team of scouts then switch to phase 2, which is to rely on Eren to switch to Titan form. This does not go according to plan either, as he is unable to completely accept that Annie is the traitor, since they had been comrades in the cadet academy together. Since he needs to be sure of his goal while switching, this hinders his ability. Meanwhile, Annie proceeds to spread chaos all across the city, destroying infrastructure and killing officers. Even a well-planned trap is not enough to stop the rioting monster. Just as the situation seems to be getting out of hand, Eren accepts that Annie is not the person he thought she was. With that, he turns into the Titan and engages into combat with her. Although Eren has lost all his previous battles against the female Titan, this time he has a replenished sense of purpose. With eyes filled with rage, he throws punch after punch until it is Annie who is on the defensive. She attempts to escape by climbing the interior wall, but Mikasa is there to intervene and cuts off her fingers. Bruised and defeated, it takes only a single blow by Eren to knock out the creature. Such is Eren's rage that he bites out the skin over where Annie is controlling the body. However, seeing his old comrade gives him a shock, and that is enough time for Annie to cover herself with a transparent crystal-like material that is impenetrable. The mission is deemed a failure due to Scout's inability to capture the witness and pry her for information. However, the quick thinking of Commander Erwin gains appreciation for the Scouts, and they, including Eren, are pardoned by the central government. The chrysalis of Annie is kept deep underground for close inspection. Although there were high losses and casualties, the fact that humankind has made progress on uncovering details behind the Titan's existence is proof that there is still chance for winning this war and surviving. Ever the optimist, Commander Erwin assures his superiors that his troops would never stop fighting until every last Titan has been dealt with and peace can once again reign supreme. And on this positive note, our recap for today comes to an end. If you enjoyed this video as much as we did making it for you, drop us a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Anime Soreio for more awesome animes like this recapped on your feed. With that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!